What's up everyone, I'm Dan and thanks to Future Friends Games for the review code for Freeride on the Nintendo Switch systems. Freeride is imaginative, bursting with bright colours and built around the concept that instantly makes you lean forward, a kooky RPG that doubles as a personality test, tracking your actions and decisions in subtle ways and reflecting them back at you once the journey ends. It's the kind of premise that sounds almost too ambitious for a short, quirky indie adventure, and while Freeride doesn't always nail everything it sets out to do, it absolutely delivers a ride that's charming, memorable, and full of personality, even if it occasionally leaves you staring at the screen wondering what you're meant to do next. Freeride begins with a wonderfully moody opening. You're on a lonely station platform as Proto, the player character, waiting for the train. It's a simple setup, but immediately sets a tone that feels dreamlike and slightly unsettling. Soon enough, the train arrives and you're invited aboard by the conductor, who introduces you to the spirit world, an afterlife that sometimes overlaps with the human world. It's a great hook, not just because the spirit world is a fun setting, but because it gives the game permission to be as strange as it wants to be. The spirit world is colourful, whimsical, and full of spirits living their own odd little lives, each one stuck with unfinished business and emotional baggage they haven't yet resolved. And that's where Freeride's best qualities shine, its cast. Freeride is packed with quirky characters, and even though they aren't always deeply complex, they're consistently charming and memorable. There's a warmth to how the game writes its interactions, small conversations and moments that might not seem important at first, but end up sticking with you anyway. You genuinely start rooting for these spirits, even the ones you don't immediately like, and it becomes satisfying to help them work through their unfinished business and find some kind of closure. The game's pacing is brisk, which helps it avoid dragging, but it also means some story beats don't always get enough breathing room. You sometimes wish Freeride would slow down and let you sit with certain moments longer, because when it does hit emotionally, it lands surprisingly well. Freeride is marketed as a game about you, and in a literal sense it is. It's watching your decisions, tracking your habits, and building a profile of your subconscious personality as you play. But narratively, the story doesn't always feel as personal as that concept suggests. Proto is mostly a blank slate designed to let you project yourself into the experience. That works for the personality test angle, but it also makes the overarching plot feel like it's more about the spirit world itself than about your personal journey through it. You're involved, sure, and you play an important role, but the game doesn't always make you feel like the center of the emotional arc. It's a strange disconnect. The game clearly is designed around you, but the narrative doesn't always lean into that in a meaningful way. The personality test mechanic is easily the most intriguing part of Freeride. It tracks everything, whether you're exploring or rushing your objectives, whether you hoard items, throw items, gift items, or even eat things that probably shouldn't be eaten. It's constantly watching, quietly taking notes. At the end of your run, Freeride gives you a breakdown of your personality type based on how you behaved. The results are entertaining, but not always accurate. It would have been nice to have a feature that lets you view past results and track how your choices change across playthroughs, especially since the game encourages replaying. Visually, Freeride is absolute eye candy. The game is drenched in bright colours and art style is immediately eye-catching. The spirit world feels like a living sketchbook of creative ideas where every new character design and environment has its own flavour. It's the kind of aesthetic that makes exploration rewarding because you're constantly stumbling into something that looks fresh and imaginative. Sometimes it can be too much, but it works for the mood the game is going for. That creativity is a huge part of why Freeride works even when it's stumbling mechanically. As charming as Freeride is, it's not always the smoothest experience to play. The controls take some getting used to, and they're not as tight as you might want, especially when precision matters. There's a looseness to movement and interaction that can make the game feel slightly fiddly rather than fluid. On top of that, it's not always obvious what you're supposed to be doing. Sometimes the game's free-form nature feels intentional, like it wants you to wander, experiment, and find your own solutions, but other times it feels like a lack of clarity that slows down the pacing for the wrong reasons. When a game is only a few hours long, moments of confusion stand out more, and Freeride occasionally risks pulling you out of the experience just when it's starting to build momentum. Freeride isn't a perfectly polished adventure, but it is a special one. It's imaginative, colourful, and filled with a cast that's easy to love. The personality test mechanic is a clever hook that adds replay value and makes you think about how you play, even if the results don't always feel accurate or meaningful. It's not always obvious where to go or what to do, and the controls can feel looser than they should, but when Freeride hits its stride, it becomes a genuinely fun and emotionally resonant trip through a world that's hard to forget. If you like quirky games that you can take your time playing through and don't overstay their welcome, then Freeride might just be the game for you. Freeride is out now on the Nintendo eShop, priced at $15.49 in the UK and $19.99 in the US. Big thanks to you as always for watching. Hope you enjoyed the review. Don't forget to hit that like button if you like the review, and until next time.